and yet very close to the midnight for 1.5 degree limit. However, the science has also shown that both climate crisis and air pollution acts as an accelerator on existing social inequalities. And as was said by the executive director, short-lived climate pollutants like methane, black carbon, HFCs, are responsible for 45% of current warming and are major contributors to air pollution, a public health emergency that results in premature deaths the world over. And in Africa particularly, this is over 1 million premature deaths per year. Vulnerable groups such as children, elderly people, and people with medical conditions are particularly at risk. Air pollution continues to cost billions of dollars in healthcare costs, in loss of workdays, in ruined crops, not to mention the damages it does to ecosystems and biodiversity. In addition, climate change, which is increasingly manifesting itself in the form of out-of-control wildfires, severe droughts, or devastating floods, is intrinsically linked to air pollution. As a coalition, however, we have the power to make our air cleaner and also contribute to solving the climate crisis. To deliver on this bold vision, the CCAC has over the years supported countries to put in place adequate policy, regulatory, and legislative frameworks. But policies and legislating alone will not be enough. We need all actors to play their role. That means at all governance levels, from local to national and at international scale. Stakeholders in all relevant sectors, from transport to buildings, agriculture, energy, and industry, need to take urgent action. And as a coalition, we have to act quickly and together. And I think the executive director rightly said so also earlier. The challenges of air pollution and climate is something that is bigger than the interests of any individual country. That requires joint international action. This is the purpose of our gathering this week. The benefits of the work of the coalition is from the fact that in most cases, fighting climate change also helps to reduce air pollution and vice versa. So we continue to look for synergies across the two strands of work. This annual conference provides the perfect opportunity to discuss what we need to do and plot the path ahead. To consider how we can spread knowledge to bring about cleaner air, make sure our workforce has the right skills, plan our cities and their surroundings the right way, better organize our transport to reduce social inequalities is what we are here to discuss. However, let me say that making most of this will require adequate funding. And I wish once again to use the opportunity to thank our generous funders over the years and to call others to come on board to support the CCAC Trust Fund. Let me further say that this week, through our sessions and side discussions, I would like to see us advance ideas and plans for a CCAC African Clean Air Program as called for in the CCAC Africa Regional Assessment launched a year and a half ago. And if my minister was here, I'm sure he would have said something. He is a medical doctor, and he was telling us at one other forum, which I think Martina was there, and he talked about postmortem that was carried out on toddlers. And he was trying to link how air pollution was killing not just elderly people, but toddlers. These toddlers stay at the back of their moms in the kitchens and suffer from indoor pollution. And this is why, for us, this is very critical and important at this point. I therefore want to use the opportunity to urge all to support the CCAC flagships and its work program on methane. And I call on all countries to recognize methane, black carbon, and HFCs in their biennial transparency reports and the NDCs, in addition to their decarbonization policies and programs. This would help us achieve prosperity and equity for our people. Let me conclude by also saying that I would particularly be grateful to send some feedback from this annual conference to our May board meeting, which is going to take place in Japan, for us to develop a concrete program that will contribute to real actions on the ground and across the continent. And I look forward to fruitful deliberations from all of us. And I want to reaffirm Ghana's commitment to the coalition and to its work. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Peter. I think you all agree, we know why he's our co-chair. So thank you again. Now we move to our next speaker, and local governments do play an essential role. We do know that they're often at the forefront of relief to crises and are part of the government that part of government that is most directly interacting with the citizens. And while the Honorable Governor Sakaja Johnson is still on his way, he has asked Ibrahim Auma, the County Minister, Green Nairobi, to deliver the remarks right now because of our time schedule. So thank you very much, and I would ask Mr. Auma to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Auma. I am the Nairobi City County Minister in charge of Green Nairobi. Green Nairobi has got the component of environment, water, food, and agriculture. And I'm so delighted to be here to represent my governor, who until this morning was on his way, and due to the representation he has for the capital city, he had to respond to a call by His Excellency the President to attend a meeting at his residence. And nothing is lost. I'm here to represent him, and I'll be in a position to give his speech and the words he had intended to address this important gathering. And I will go to his speech directly. First, I am delighted to see many distinguished leaders in science, climate, government, business, and environmental matters. Karibuni sana. A warm welcome to everyone, especially those visiting Nairobi for the first time. We are very pleased to have you here. Just a few days ago, the Nairobi City County Green Nairobi is in collaboration with the London School of Health Sciences and Tropical Medicine, Y Labs, C40 Cities, and Urban Better concluded a workshop program on children, cities, and climate action lab. The crux of conversation evolved around the impacts of climate change on children and young people, and how youth can apply their strengths and knowledge in addressing the impacts of climate change. The session also tackled the interconnected challenges, such as climate crisis, role of cities in reducing greenhouse gases, emissions, and communicating new scientific evidence on public health on grounds of the young people's well-being and livelihood. Under my stewardship as the governor of this great city, I will ensure continued investment in cleaner air water, and food systems through reducing pollution from vehicles, factories, and other sources, as well as promoting active transportation and green space where children can play and thrive. We must empower Nairobi residents to be active participants in climate action. Education is key to fostering awareness, empathy, and sense of responsibility for the planet. We will also ensure continued collaboration among governments, civil society, and private sector in accelerating climate action at the local, national, and global platforms, noting that no single entity can solve the climate crisis on their own. My government prides itself as the co-chair of the Nairobi Air Quality Working Group, a network of partners whose contribution to the air quality space cannot go without mentioning. From demystifying air quality, creating a community of practice and discipline, I will encourage other climate action areas to follow suit. Not forgetting immense support from our own NEMA, WRI, AirCo, C40 cities, and latest to join in the network being Clean Air Fund. All these partners have a clear vision to improve the lives of Nairobi city dwellers and enable them live in a dignified manner. Just to mention our supporters, our partners, so far, Nairobi County has installed 20 air monitoring gadgets across the city for the purpose of giving its residents a view of its air quality status. Real-time air quality data can be accessed at the Nairobi City County website, which we have to thank AirCo for the partnership. I look forward to encouraging interesting and concrete interactions with various cities and regions supporting the national government in achieving SDGs and multilateral environmental agreements goals, and more importantly, I hope as you are in Nairobi, you are going to enjoy the city in the sun. Thank you very much. Governor Arthur Johnson Sakaja.
Thank you very much for having stepped in. And well, not only the compound is very vibrant, also the city of Nairobi is. So if you get a chance, please explore. So now moving to our youth speaker. And the youth is our future. And particularly if you look at this continent, how young this continent is, we really have to make sure we listen, but also more importantly, we engage youth in designing the future by our actions today. And with that, I would like to introduce Mrs. Elizabeth Watuti. She's an Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, and that's a Head of State Commendation. And she's also the founder and executive director of Green Generation Initiative, and I would like to give her the floor, please.
Thank you so much. Excellencies, esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Elizabeth Wathuti, and I am an environmentalist, a global climate champion, and also the founder of the Green Generation Initiative that nurtures young people to love nature and be environmentally conscious. I also serve as a commissioner at the Global Commission on the Economics of Water and a commissioner in the Nairobi Rivers Commission representing civil society and young people here in Kenya. I am deeply honored to speak at the Climate and Clean Air Conference right now that's taking place within the auspice of UNEA 6, right here in Nairobi, my hometown, and Kenya, my home country. And gathering for the Climate and Clean Air Conference today with a shared ambition for us to forge a sustainable and equitable future, particularly within our cities, I would like to underscore the profound interconnection between climate, air quality, and health. Historically, air quality has consistently served as a primary and often the initial indicator when gauging the quality of a healthy environment. And it also reflects the depth of our concern and care for our immediate surroundings and the broader environment in which we all live in. Life's essence begins with a breath, a gasp of air that symbolizes the commencement and continuity of existence for Earth's diverse species. Yet, for too many around the globe, this fundamental act of life, that is breathing, has become a hazard, a life-threatening gamble imposed by pollution and climate-induced adversities. Let us remind ourselves that our commitment to clean air and a stable climate is not just an environmental cause. It is a fight for our very own existence. It is a fight for life. Communities in our countries and cities continue to bear the brunt of inaction. Inaction from unchecked pollution from industrial emission and transport sectors, indoor and outdoor pollution from burning of fossil fuels, relentless deforestation that is reducing our tree cover that cleans the very air we breathe, and also climate-induced wildfires, among many others. All these inactions have led to a world where, globally, 93% of all children live in environments with air pollution levels above the World Health Organization guidelines. And more than 2 million children under 5 years die every year due to pollution. All these have also led to a burdened and costly healthcare system, from avoidable respiratory diseases, and worse, where 9 out of 10 babies breathe air that poisons them from their first cry. Think about this again. 93% of all children live in environments with air pollution levels above the World Health Organization guidelines. I think we are glaring at a serious climate health tipping point. And I think and believe it is time we move from only deliberations to taking and pushing for action towards seriously addressing clean air in our policies and investment options coupled with enforceable monitoring measures. I believe as climate adversities increase, coupled with human-induced drivers that promote poor air quality, which continues to inflict stress among people, we also run a risk of unprecedented challenges to human well-being, social and economic instability. But the journey ahead demands a collective resolve to transition to clean and renewable energy sources, to protect our forests and waterways, and to adopt to sustainable agricultural practices. It requires us to confront our addiction to fossil fuels head-on, recognizing the toll it takes on human health and the environment. Youth leaders in particular have a pivotal role to play in this transformation, and through the Children and Youth Major Group, as we saw during the just concluded Global Youth Environmental Assembly, we have shown that meaningfully engaging young people in environmental processes not only nurtures them to continue driving solutions at the level with their colleagues, but also makes them bring very valuable policy inputs to intergovernmental processes. My vision for the future, and I believe the vision for everyone that is gathered here today, is a collective resolve to transition to a clean world where clean air and a stable climate underpin decisions of development and the prosperity of all people worldwide. And I implore us to, number one, move to policy action and implementation that drives and enforces action, and two, increase funding and investment allocations to solutions that drive clean air quality, and three, allow room for innovation, especially from our young people, and four, collaborate and share knowledge. And in closing, my action is creating green spaces and growing trees, and especially fruit trees in schools across Kenya, which is a simple action that not only addresses food security, but is also a part of a bigger puzzle of cleaning our air in the most basic of natural science. What is your honest clean air action? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth, and I think that was absolute proof why it's so important to listen to the youth. This has been inspiring and calling us to take our own actions and reminding us as well about the nature-based solutions. We'll excuse our executive director. She has to run to the next meeting, but thank you very much for having been with us. And we're getting ready now for a quick overview of the last year. So we have a couple of slides that will come up as well. And if 2022 was the year of getting ready to roll out the 2030 strategy, so our phase 2, last year has shown the full strength of this partnership. From the highest budget ever implemented under the CCIC, commensurate with the urgency to act, obviously, to leadership and foresight. We got together at the highest levels in the regions. That was a very powerful way to spur regional action, and we heard about the opportunities for greater harmonization of standards, for example. We launched as well the pilot of the TEEP, the Technology and Economic Advisory Panel, which is a very powerful way to connect as well between technology and finance. And we work towards the release of the Clean Air flagship that Peter already introduced here as well. And I think that got just another boost of its importance by Elizabeth's remarks. I would like to thank the partnership, all of you, for the hard work. Because if we are where we are, it's because we all pull together, work together to make progress. And obviously, we did make a lot of progress as well at COP28 on the CCIC-led initiatives on super pollutants. And Inger gave us already an overview of that. I already mentioned it in 2023, global temperature records were smashed. The climate emergency continues to ravage countries and people around the world, often hitting the poorest and the most vulnerable the hardest. And in this climate, we need to be fast and action-oriented when it comes to implementing the solutions that we all already know are effective. So this gives us another boost to quickly cut methane emissions and cutting the other short-lived climate pollutants and engaging directly with all our partners around the world to take the action, particularly to reduce air pollution that can often choke our communities, so that we all work towards measurable impacts to reduce harmful emissions and clean the air we all breathe. We have now the next slide, maybe. Exactly. We have messages from our co-chairs. And I would like to encourage you to read them. I'm not going to read them out, but they're very powerful in reminding us what we need to do, keeping us on our toes, basically singling out the big opportunity that we have, but also asking for further investment, continued investment into the trust fund, because without the trust fund, we're not able to provide everybody the support that you request to us. If you go to the next slide, it shows where we have landed. The CCIC is continuing to grow, reflecting really the urgency of tackling climate and clean air issues, but also reflecting the vibrancy of this partnership. We have grown to 86 state partners. We have now 88 non-state partners. We have been able to support 53 countries through project funding, and that has been done with the help of 43 implementing entities, and many of you are in this room, obviously, here. We also have 33 national SLCP experts that have been recruited or are under recruitment, have been approved to provide direct institutional support within ministries, and those that have been recruited are actually in this room as well, so I would encourage all of you to reach out and to see how this is actually something that helps within ministries to move the needle as well. Now, if you look at the next slide, it gives you an overview of the 9 countries that have joined the CCAC partnership in 2023, and I really want to recognize them for having joined. And that's Brazil, El Salvador, Guatemala, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Malawi, Lebanon, Kazakhstan, Comoros, and Kyrgyzstan. So you see it's across the globe where we have seen this growth, and really a warm welcome to the family, to all of you. If we go to the next slide, I already mentioned that it's been a banner year for project funding for the CCAC, and only last year we allocated over 11 million for country support. We had 46 requests for policy support that was fulfilled. We had 11 sector transformation projects that have been launched, and just now, basically as of today, we have new 6 projects that are approved as well under the transformation. The CCAC partnership is really walking the talk, and these projects are proof of our action-oriented approach. It helps make good on commitments made through international agreements and turning promises into impact, and we hope to be able to continue to do that. And if we go to the next slide, we see what we expect in terms of outcomes of these projects that are underway. And that includes 24 enhanced NDCs by 2025, 22 MRV systems by 2026, 30 national methane roadmaps also by 2026. Hopefully we can have quite a good number a bit earlier as well for release as we head to the next COP. And 16 laws and policies to be drafted by 2026 as well. And obviously, this has bubbled up through the partner requests for support, and it's an ambitious list, and we obviously hope to do more in that respect as well, as we see further requests coming to us this year and the following years. If we go to the next slide, a breath of fresh air. We already highlighted the Clean Air flagship has been launched at the CCAC Ministerial in Dubai. We heard the numbers, not only unacceptable numbers of premature death, but also the cost to our economies, the cost to our youth, they're our future, and their ability to develop is impacted by air pollution, from brain development to learning to missed days at school, etc. So we are undermining our sustainable development opportunities by not taking action on it. So there are 3 big strands of this Clean Air flagship. One is really to strengthen regional governance and cooperation. The other is the support for policy action founded on the latest science, and mobilizing finance through a Clean Air sprint. A key focus of this conference, as well as of the coming year, will be to operationalize this flagship and to help move the needle on achieving clean air around the world. It is an issue that concerns 9 out of 10 people that are breathing unsafe air with every breath we take. So let's make sure we make every move we can to address the issue. And I just wanted to say air pollution is not a fatality. We've been for too long looking at let's get rich first and clean up later, sort of thinking that this is a necessary step that we have to put up with while we develop. But that's not the case. There's a more positive narrative that we can tell today, with clean air also being an asset for socio-economic development. Now, if you go to the next slide, this is to highlight the latest progress on the Global Methane Pledge and the CCAC's Secretariat service functions for the Global Methane Pledge. We've put into place, as you know, a scaffolding for action, a whole support system along the lines of people, plans, and policies. We all know that methane reduction, and Inga reminded us of that, is one of the fastest and most efficient ways of lowering harmful emissions. And it also contributes to cleaning the air by reducing hazardous ground level ozone that can choke communities. And we have known that for a decade because we've been working collectively on this. But now the world knows too. At COP, the Super Pollutant Summit really put it very, very much on everybody's radar. So the GMP currently has 155 country participants, representing over 50% of global methane emissions. Over 50 countries have developed or are developing national methane action plans, of which 33 are supported by the CCAC. Over 75 countries have been engaging in the CCAC Methane Roadmap Action Program, and there's a new series of that being rolled out this year again. 40 methane projects were approved or launched in agriculture, waste, and oil and gas sectors. That's part of the ones that I've reported on beforehand, but this is really to tease out what is methane specific. There is this 1 billion methane finance sprint, or the outcomes of the methane finance sprint that were announced at the Super Pollutant Summit at COP28, and obviously we'll be able to track progress as well on how this goes with the implementation, and it pulls in another set of actors that are really powerful, such as the World Bank. Now, the next slide shows us very quickly visually where those 40 methane projects are, and they're really across the globe and across the sectors. If we look at the next slide, the CCAC scientists, this has always been a really strong backbone of this partnership. They continue to contribute in a major way to impactful reports on SLCPs with a wide global reach and influence. And there's 3 notable examples that I wanted to highlight. One was the report done together with the IEA on the imperative of cutting methane from fossil fuels, making a really strong case here for this action to take place alongside decarbonization. And then the CCAC Africa Union report, integrated assessment of air pollution and climate change for sustainable development in Africa. And that was actually recognized also by AMSEN, so at the political level. And it has a key finding, which is actually calling for an Africa-wide clean air plan. And that's something that, as part of, of the Clean Air Flagship, we're looking into supporting together with the colleagues at the African Union Commission. And the last is the NDC study, which really shows opportunities for increasing ambition of the NDCs through integrated air pollution and climate planning. And it's just a snapshot of what is out there. If we go to the next slide, and I'm almost through with it, the launch of the TEEP, I already mentioned it. TEEP has been inspired by the Montreal Protocol. We recognize the situation is not the same, but the inspiration was really drawn from there. The intent is to pull information together on promising but underinvested in technologies, and looking at business models, looking at funding needs, and taking an archetype approach across different country contexts. And with that, we hope to close a funding gap as well. We started to look into that with waste to drive innovation and technology in the waste sector, as there is an urgent need to divert organic waste from landfills due to significant methane emissions coming from there. We did pick 2 technology options, one more upstream, one more downstream, like soldier fly technology and bio covers, and there is more to come. I just wanted to tease you with that as well, and to call upon you to engage and let us know which technologies you think would be ripe to be looked at, where there's interest coming up as well from the national levels, and whom to engage in those discussions. We are dependent on expert knowledge to feed into this. That will be the strength of the TEEP going forward. We have 2 wonderful co-chairs from Ireland and Senegal. They're with us as well. There will be discussions throughout this week on this, with one very dedicated one on Friday morning. So it's a prime opportunity as well for bringing private sector actors along, as long as we're not limiting to only one tech provider. So there's a bit of an issue there, but the moment we have a wider group in the room, it's perfectly fine, and not only perfectly fine, but actually really powerful. If we go to the next slide, we did convene several regional ministerial gatherings, and Peter alluded to one that we did in conjunction with the AMSEN meeting, where we brought together the partnership regionally at ministerial level. We did the same in the LAC region, for example. We had presence at all the regional climate weeks with a special track that highlighted as well this interaction with the health topic. And we held a better air quality conference together with Clean Air Asia and the Asian Development Bank at the Asian Development Bank headquarters. And it shows you the breadth of things that have been done this year. At each of these ministerial convenings, we're seeing more and more countries joining hands to address the shared emergency. And what came out very much was that this regional cooperation is critical. We had ministers saying, well, here we are, we think we are so different, and here we share the same problems. And I think that's the power of the partnership underlined again. So how do we take things from the moment to momentum to movement? And I think this is really part of that. As we all know, we have the tools to address the challenges, and I think together we can do this as well in terms of the rollout. The next slide shows just quickly partners in action, so snapshots of those different events and the critical milestones achieved. And then I have three sets of slides very quickly to just highlight some country achievements. And obviously, please don't be offended if your achievement is not depicted here. We can't show everything that has happened by all of you in the room. It's been amazing, but we're in Kenya, so I just wanted to highlight quickly what we did in Kenya with the signing of a Waste Management Act, which mandates that each country create their own sustainable waste management legislation within 1 year of the national bill's passage. So I think this is a pretty powerful first step. Then there's the funded support in Pakistan with the development of a clean air plan, which delegates implementation to the country's 8 provinces for them to develop individual plans. And I think it speaks very much to the whole of government approach. And I think it's an interesting example for that. And the last one that I wanted to highlight is the CCAC funded support in Nigeria with the launch of the methane regulations for the oil and gas sector, so very important and powerful. And as of mid-23, over 70% of the operators had complied with that. So there's a success story there that we want to recognize. Last slide is really, well, as a secretariat, we have grown and we're now stabilizing. We have a few new processes that we put into place in 2022. You all know we've been experimenting with that. We're ironing out some of the things that needed to be addressed going further to improve efficiencies of processes and so on. But I think we have a very strong setup now. We were off with a good start on renewed funding. We said it a couple of times already. It's important to implement our objectives with the 150 million target as well to get a continued stream of funding for this. And we have a really critical year ahead. You all know the NDC reviews are underway. So that's a key milestone for us as well to see how the SLCPs are being reflected there. Obviously, the methane roadmaps, I mentioned it already. We want to make sure that we have a good number going over the finishing line, and we hope to work together on making that happening. Inger mentioned COP 2029 as the finance COP and working towards that. We did say it's a bit of a year of clean air, and we will hear in a moment about the UNEA resolution that's on the table. But it's also, we have the event in Ghana that I mentioned already, so it's really a whole lineup here as well. And finance, I already alluded to the internals of that, but also we have this finance agenda working together very closely with the regional development banks, with the World Bank colleagues. There's a lot that is underway, and I think we, for example, the MRAP workshop that was held within the World Bank with the World Bank colleagues is a really, really important step forward, and as was the one with the Asian Development Bank. So more to come, but I think this meeting here will also be extremely important to feed further ideas, what next, how to put emphasis on the key sectors as well, making most of the collective wisdom and the energy that is in the room. And I encourage all of you to inspire and be inspired. This is the CCA spirit in which we operate. And clearly, SLCP reduction is a must-do to address climate and clean air. But it's also a can-do with the solutions that we've identified, the measures, region by region, and also nationally with the SLCP planning processes. And we show that we do. So must do, can do, we do by collective and individual action. And with that, I stop and I hand over to Kimber. Thank you. Kimber is the Foreign Affairs Officer of the U.S. Department of State, Bureau of Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs, and the Office of Environmental Quality. And she is presenting to us the UNEA resolution that has been tabled by the U.S. and that has been supported by a good number of countries, many of them in the room as well. Kimber.
Good morning, distinguished colleagues. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you very much, Martina, for that introduction. It's a huge honor to be here with the esteemed individuals on this panel. It's quite a pleasure. I want to first, I also thank the co-sponsors to the air quality resolution. The U.S. has put forward another air quality resolution. We've had a couple of ones in the past. I believe I have some slides that list those co-sponsors. We have Brazil and Canada, Chile, Israel, Republic of Korea, Morocco, and the United Kingdom. We're hoping to get a few more as the weeks go on, but I think there's broad support for what we're trying to do. Thank you. Next slide. So I'm going to quickly go over our real goal is to help all countries build better capacity to address air pollution. We've heard of the public health crisis that we have, the crisis that we also have on our environment that is a result of air pollution. We really want to increase the regional cooperation component so that all levels of government, city, local, regional, national, can have the resources and information and best practices that you need to build up a better air quality management system. So we have to elevate the need for this and build on the resolutions. We had Resolution 1.7, we had Resolution 3.8. Those were good to raise awareness. They did a lot of things. 3.8 really set forward some projects within UNEP, and UNEP's commitment has been wonderful on addressing air pollution since then. I think the CCAC how to take the next step. How can we really work better together to make sure no one is left behind, that the information that we've developed over the last decades in other regional cooperation bodies can be shared appropriately, that we can build a network where information in one region can help another region and we can better learn from one another. So the air quality management infrastructure that we've done in the US, that have been done in other countries so well, has a very strong data-driven approach. Emission inventories, air quality monitoring, looking at air quality monitoring, look at how we enforce certain regulations and laws on specific sectors. It is a cycle of air quality management that has worked over the decades in various countries. I also have the honor of chairing the executive body of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe's Convention on Long-Range Transboundary Air Pollution. It's a mouthful. We call it the Air Convention. That has been in existence for 4 decades and has a wealth of technical information. I do want to comment on what we're not trying to do with this resolution. We're not trying to create a global agreement. We're not trying to do that. We are trying to cooperate better. We are trying to share information better and be able to work better to address air pollution's public health and environmental crisis that it causes. We're also not trying to replicate the regional bodies that are already out there. So the Air Convention and UNECE has been a very successful regional cooperation model. There's a lot of technical information there, but we know that doesn't work for the rest of the world. It is not how we expect it to happen in other regions. However, there's best practices, there's lessons that we've learned over those years that could be better shared and increase capacity building from that technical and information that does exist in those various places. So that's our goal on what the resolution is not supposed to do. We've had a lot of questions about, what is really behind this? Are you going toward that? And we're not. We really just want everyone to be able to have access to the information they need to make progress and build their air quality management capacity. The other thing that I think, and it's been touched on by all of my colleagues, is how do we integrate policies? How can we look at the climate, the biodiversity, the nitrogen problems that we have at the same time that we're addressing air pollution? In the US in 1990, when we passed the Clean Air Act amendments, it was single pollutant by single pollutant. We were doing ozone state implementation plans, we were doing PM 2.5 state implementation plans, and everything was separate. And a lot of progress happened because it was a very strong set of rules and legislation, but it was single pollutant planning. It took a lot of resource, and we've learned that looking more holistically at all your environmental problems, all of your air pollution problems, as we've heard today, the short-lived climate forcers are also air pollutants, and we all know this, and we all know that it would be better if we looked at these together in an integrated way. We want to make sure we're calling that out in this resolution so that countries can learn to look from a multi-pollutant standpoint. Again, we're not trying to go into another territory, but we're trying to acknowledge that they work together, that they're integrated, that there are synergies between the pollutants that we need to address. So that's another thing that we're just calling out, as you might want to consider looking at planning in that way as we are building capacity on the basics of air quality management. We know that how hard it is to do an emissions inventory, how hard it is to set up an air quality monitoring system. It takes a lot of resources, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of expertise. We're also aware that some countries build up expertise and then it goes away, and then you're sitting there with equipment that you may have gotten through a project and no one to run it. So these are all issues that I think the Air Quality Flagship can help with, our air quality partners surrounding us. There are so many of you out there working on these issues, and if we can come together and share information better. One of the other things that we're doing with this resolution is calling out the need again for an online platform. A platform a one-stop shop where you can go and say, what's going on in that region? What are their best practices for that sector? I really need to address my transportation sector. Do they have best practices for car standards? Do they have best practices in the energy sector? And be able to easily find that guidance. Right now, there's just information everywhere, and it's really hard to zero in on what you need and where we need to find it. We're hopeful that many of the air quality partners that are here today, and we can work together also within the UN organizations to really develop an online place where a lot of guidance can be formed. The other thing I wanted to mention about our resolution is the creation of a network or forming a committee. Again, this is not setting up a whole nother body or another secretariat. It's using the existing platforms that we have and calling on our air quality partners, such as the Flagship and others, to help convene what's out there already to share information better. So doing it through an online platform, but also doing it at existing meetings and coming together and being able to share that information. So those are our main goals for this. We're hoping to, again, focus on data-driven approaches, multi-pollutant integrated policies, and building capacity in areas where it doesn't exist. And we really feel like the regional cooperation network approach and working regionally will help with that. And as I close, I just wanted to go back to what my colleagues have highlighted, and that's what are we fighting for? We're here to fight for public health. We're here to fight for protection of ecosystems. It's both, and I think this resolution helps support a lot of the work that's going on now within CCAC, other organizations, local governments, city governments, and national governments. If you have any questions, please feel free to track me down. Would love to hear your concerns, your views, your ideas about how we can make this better. When hopefully this gets approved next week, we're hopefully gonna be able to work on implementation better because there's enough detail in there that says, well, what do we do next now that we have all agreed on how important this is? So any ideas you have there too would be quite welcome. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you, Martina.
Thank you very much, Kimber. And I think it's really important to highlight the negotiations that are taking place on this proposed resolution. It's taking place across the corridor, basically, so I don't want to sidetrack you. The room is very full on the other end. It's very intense as well. But I think keeping an eye on what is going on, we will give you feedback as well, if there's anything that we see is coming out. But I think it's good. There could be some interactions as well in terms of discussion. So mingle, interact with people who are on the compound as well. I'm looking to the team because I was hoping we would actually introduce live our artist that I introduced already a little bit earlier. Is he coming? Is he in? He's coming, 1 minute. Okay, that's before we go to our coffee break. And I introduced him already, and I think it's so important how images can convey messages in a very different way. We're here together talking about the issues, we have the numbers, we have the scientific reports and so on, and that's super, super important. But how do we reach others as well with their minds and their hearts? Is through images, through showing, through art projects, through showing what is going on. I said he's setting up at the moment, and it's right behind this conference room. So I encourage everybody who can to pass by there as well. As I said, we'll do an unveiling next week of it once it's done. He has something similar. Exactly, that's his. That's him while he's moving to our conference room. But I thought we would have a slide as well with what he did during the Clean Air Day. But maybe not. What he did during Clean Air Day was depicting what has happened to Rosamund Kissy, whose daughter was the first recognized victim of air pollution. So death certificate did say that was the reason. And poor Ella, she suffered from asthma, and one of the asthma crises were leading to that as well. So it's a very personal story, which is terrible, but Rosamund made a strength out of it, fighting very hard for the right to clean air for everybody, highlighting as well the vulnerabilities and the injustice linked with that. If you can tell by the postcode how much you are impacted by air quality, it definitely brings home the message of injustice as well. So that's the image, and you see Rosamund's 3 kids, and so it's an homage to Ella as well. And I don't want to hold you back much longer from the coffee break. If he's not coming, it's difficult. But I think I introduced it enough. He may actually be there outside when you have your coffee. Ask him a little bit about his motivation, why he's taking on this topic as well as one that he wants to depict and highlight the importance of. With that, thank you. That was the opening. Thank you very much to our distinguished speakers. It was fantastic having you with us. I think this has shown the breadth, has given us the inspiration that we need for our 3 days. And please help yourselves to a coffee. Come back in half an hour sharp so that we can continue with a fantastic panel discussion. Now, I thought later. Okay, I'm told we have the photographer ready as well. We can do a group photo. So if I could ask all of you to, before you have your coffee, go out the stairs that you came down. Just those are a perfect spot for the photo because it's a spot where we will see everybody's face. So if you could just gather the team with between Sandra, Alexandra, Ava will show you where it is so we can quickly position there. We have the photographer take the photo and then we have your coffee. Thank you.
CCSC meeting is taking a 15-minute break. 15-minute break for the CCSC meeting, Climate and Clean Air Conference
Yes,
2024.
it is cracking.
Check. Okay.
What? Let me restart the system. Let me restart the system. Let's test. Yes, Spanish booth. It's okay. Yes. Yes, I'm sure. Yes. No, let's test the other ones. Test all of them. Right one, loud and clear. The last one. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Yes, all fine. No creaking, no cracking, no frogs. Bye.
Hello, could you please take your seats? We're trying to get started again. I know the coffee breaks are fantastic mingling opportunities, and it's this exchange that we like to see. But if you could come please back. Please take your seats so that we can get started. Please, can you take your seats? We get started.
Clean Asia used to sing, you know that, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, to get people back in. All right, go for it, Martina.
Yeah. No, I won't do that. Please take your seats, and we're getting started with the session now. And we have a absolutely amazing presentation by our chair of the Scientific Advisory Panel, Drew Shindell, who is a professor at Duke, and he is also a member of the Academy of Science. I'm getting it together. And it's wonderful to have him with us here and to share his wisdom. So we'll have a presentation first from Drew. And I already introduced that I'm handing over the moderation of this panel to Rose Mbesa, who is our the UNEP Regional Office Director. And she used to be also the head of the Secretariat of the CTCN, so the Climate Technology Network and Centers, well, with this combined experience in the space on providing solutions, support to countries on requests. She will be able to moderate us very nicely in this session. We have an amazing panel here. I think there's something about gender balance, but we're sort of okay. And Rose will introduce everybody quickly, or everybody actually will introduce themselves very quickly. So with that, now everybody's seated. I've bridged the time, and I hand over to Drew. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. And what's the time? It's still morning. Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and colleagues in the House. As you've been told, my name is Rose Mwebaza. I'm the Director for Africa here in UNEP, and we are very pleased to have you in our headquarters. I'm also very pleased to be your moderator for this session. I have a distinguished panel of speakers here with me today, and we are envisioning this to be a think session where we have different stakeholders sharing their experiences, and therefore it seems to me that we are going to have a very interesting discussion. However, before we start, I'm going to request my panel to introduce themselves, their organizations, and what they do, so that as we have these conversations, you have a very good context of what they are talking about, why they are talking about it, and the solutions they are working towards. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm left-handed, but I will start on my right. If I will start with you, Sophie, please, a quick introduction.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sophie Punte. I'm the founder and board member of the Smart Freight Center, a global NGO dedicated to zero emissions freight. I'm also on the board of Mylands, which is a charging company, and I'm currently also strategic advisor with the World Green Building Council. So, and I'm based in the Netherlands, and very pleased to be back here at UNEP, because I used to be at UNEP for several years myself. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Heather Darohani, and I am the acting unit head for air quality, energy, and health at the WHO World Health Organization based in Geneva at the headquarters. Our unit focuses specifically, we're the ones helping responsible for the guidelines we keep hearing about, as well as monitoring SDGs 3, 7, and 11, as well as providing all the support for implementation on air quality and energy access. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here today as well. My name is Isabelle Baltinovic. I'm an economist at the International Livestock Research Institute here in Nairobi. I lead the EU research program on policies, institutions, and livelihoods. And one of our key research area is about how do we support smallholder farmers, women and men, work towards more climate change friendly livestock systems. Thank you very much.
Hola, buenos días para todos y para todas. Los invito a ponerse. Please use your headphones. I'm going to speak in Spanish.
We
Sorry.
have interpretation for Spanish and French. Ladies and gentlemen, use your mics. Go on, Ana.
Mucho gusto. Mi nombre es Ana Catalina Suárez Peña. Hago parte de la Red Global de Bancos de Alimentos. Estoy acá en representación de más de 60 países en los cuales tenemos bancos de alimentos. Son organizaciones sin ánimo de lucro que se dedican a rescatar alimentos y entregárselos, alimentos altamente nutricionales y entregárselos a la población más vulnerable. En este ejercicio trabajamos de la mano de muchas organizaciones y empresas para construir políticas públicas que permitan mejorar la reducción de pérdidas y desperdicios en los países al mismo tiempo que mitigamos el cambio climático. Gracias.
Good morning. My name is Meg Seki Nakamura, Executive Secretary of the Ozone Secretariat of UNEP. So I am representing the ozone community, which is the community of the Vienna Convention for the Protection of the Ozone Layer and the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer. This community is often referred to as ozone family, and it's a very united family, consisting of parties to the treaties and partners, which include industries, academia, NGOs, and the general public. So basically, it's everyone who implements actions to protect the ozone layer. In terms of the parties, we have a universal ratification of both the Vienna Convention and the Montreal Protocol, meaning we actually have 198 governments that are parties to these two treaties, as well as their amendments. So I think I'll stop here for now. Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Emmanuel Marchant. I'm French, so forgive my accent. I am one of the businessmen in the room from Danone. Danone is a food company, and I will explain more what we are doing. I've been with Danone 25 years. I had many different roles, but for a year, my role is really what is a sustainable milk for Africa, which is obviously at the crossroad of the question of food security, food sovereignty, resilience of farming, water stress, and methane.
Thank you, Manuel. Dr. Drew, if you will give me a minute, please. So Dr. Drew is going to get a separate introduction because, in fact, he is going to give our keynote presentation. I will ask him as it takes the stand to say a little bit about himself, but what I will tell you that you already know and why he's here. He is the chair of the Scientific Advisory Panel of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. Just 1 minute, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I understand some of you are not getting the translation. If you will press on your screen, you will see arrows and you can left or right for the translation. And our colleagues who are facilitating the meeting, if you could walk around just a little bit for anyone who is struggling with the translation, that would be really helpful. So Dr. Drew, please take it away.
Thank you. Good late morning, everybody. As we've heard, I'm Drew Schindel, and just to introduce myself, I'm a professor back in the United States and chair of the Science Advisory Panel, and have been so for a decade now, actually slightly more than a decade. And we have done assessments that we heard from Inger Anderson this morning from the Black Carbon and Tropospheric Ozone Assessment back in 2011 on through things like the Global Methane Assessment most recently. And this morning I wanted to talk to you about the economic assessment and the cost of inaction, something I'm quite excited about that we are undertaking now. And I just wanted to start by saying that, you know, it's a very particular American context, but right now back home, our government had announced, you know, a rapid phase-in of electric vehicles. And very recently the newspapers have been full of stories about how